A stray dog fled in panic with a bone in its mouth. It thought it could have a delicious meal, but accidentally bumped into a passerby. The lunch that had just reached its mouth suddenly disappeared. If it couldn't find it, it would go hungry again. Just then, a group of soldiers happened to pass by on the street. The dog stared fixedly at the hamburger in the woman's hand. It had been starving for a long time. Private Robert saw it at a glance. He knew the dog must be very hungry, so he threw it a piece of biscuit. The dog ate it greedily, but one piece was far from enough to fill its stomach. The dog followed cheekily. It thought to itself, maybe following Robert would mean having food from now on, and it was this unintentional act that shaped its legendary life. In the end, it not only won countless medals, but also was promoted to the dog with the highest military rank in the world. But when it first arrived at the camp gate, it was stopped by the guard on duty.
Oh, no you don't. Scram, mutt!
Seeing that it was unwelcome, the dog had to leave dejectedly. Through the gap in the wall, it saw Robert training, so it dug a tunnel. Just after climbing over the wall from outside, it was attracted by a strong fragrance again. It turned out that the fat cook was making braised pork ribs. It was about to steal a bite. The fat cook flew into a rage. Fortunately, the dog reacted quickly and escaped, but during the escape, it suddenly knocked down a soldier. The dog looked closely. It was exactly Robert, the one it was looking for. It was overjoyed. It expressed its joy by barking loudly. Unexpectedly, it was heard by the strict instructor. Seeing an extra dog in the camp, the instructor asked who the dog's owner was. The timid Robert did not dare to speak. The dog seemed to understand what the instructor meant, so it turned its gaze to Robert. Robert was extremely flustered. He signaled the dog to leave quickly. To Robert's greater surprise, the instructor did not get angry at all, but also told him to take good care of the dog. At the instructor's command, the dog immediately straightened its posture. This surprised the instructor even more. From then on, the dog finally had a place to stay. But when training started, it always made a fool of itself. The instructor ordered left turn, but it couldn't even tell left from right. Even in the face of the soldier's ruthless ridicule, it didn't care at all. But even so, the dog still trained hard every day. Seeing Robert accidentally fall from a tree, it hurried over to help him up. As time went by, the dog excelled in all skills. Whether it was crawling forward or climbing over fences, the dog rushed to the front every time. As long as it was an order from the instructor, it could perform the movements excellently. Not only that, the dog was also the instructor's right-hand man. Every time the soldiers finished shooting training, it would bring the targets to the instructor for inspection. Seeing that the dog was getting smarter and smarter, Robert gave it a nice name, Stubby. Having its own name, Stubby spun around on the spot, extremely happy. Just like that, Stubby gradually integrated into this big family. However, on this day, the regiment commander suddenly came to inspect the camp. He flew into a rage when he saw Stubby. He shouted angrily that dogs were not allowed in the camp. At this moment, Robert stood up resolutely, admitting that Stubby was his dog. Then he immediately saluted the regiment commander. Stubby saluted too. The regiment commander was greatly impressed. He praised Stubby as an excellent soldier, and allowed him to stay in the camp. Stubby's presence healed everyone's endless loneliness, but fate always has its own plans. Because the situation on the front line was urgent, all soldiers had to go to reinforce, leaving only Stubby to guard the camp. This meant that he would be separated from Robert. In the evening, Robert was packing his luggage. Stubby quietly crawled into the backpack, hoping Robert would take him along. But Robert knew very well the journey was full of uncertainty between life and death. He couldn't let Stubby take the risk. He had to reluctantly part with it, asking the fat cook to take care of it for a while, because he was busy cooking. The fat cook tied Stubby to a pillar. Watching Robert's departing figure, Stubby was heartbroken, and the next second, an accident suddenly happened. Taking advantage of the cook's unpreparedness, Stubby made a bold decision. He bit the rope to untie it, rushed out quickly. He was going to chase after Robert. Fortunately, the train was just starting. Stubby chased wildly behind, seized the opportunity to climb onto the train, followed Robert all the way to the pier. But at the boarding point, there were other soldiers guarding. But this didn't stop Stubby at all. He quietly bypassed the soldiers, then secretly hid in a box. Then with the help of the loading crane, successfully boarded the ship. Following Robert's scent, Stubby searched the cabin for a long time, finally found Robert. He happily climbed onto the bed, scaring Robert, who was in a deep sleep.
Stubby? How'd you get here? Where did you come from? How did you get here?
Robert hid Stubby in the backpack, planning to take him to hide on the deck. Unexpectedly, he ran straight into the army commander. He asked Robert what was going on. Stubby quickly handed over the instructor's baton, and saluted the army commander immediately, indicating that he was willing to accept punishment on Robert's behalf. However, the army commander did not get angry. He squatted down, stroked Stubby gently, not only praised him for being honest and brave, but also let him go to the battlefield with Robert, to show his skills and win merits. After a long and arduous journey, they finally reached their destination. This place was simply a living hell. The air was filled with the smell of death everywhere. Everyone shuddered with fear. After a long period of fierce fighting, the soldiers were physically exhausted. They became listless. As soon soon as they entered the trench, Stubby began to show his talents, driving away the mice that were stealing the soldiers' rations. After holding the position all night, they ushered in the beautiful sunshine, but everything was the calm before the storm. Just then, the enemy suddenly launched a fierce attack, blowing the teammates away in an instant. Stubby, who had never been on the battlefield before, trembled with fear before they could recover. Another shell fell from the sky. Fortunately, Robert reacted quickly, hugging Stubby tightly under his body. They narrowly escaped death. At this moment, Stubby seemed to notice something. He struggled to dig the soil. After digging out the soldier, he hurriedly called for help. The medic rushed over immediately, taking the injured soldier to rescue. Before leaving, he did not forget to thank Stubby. Seeing Stubby's bravery in battle, the instructor sent them to scout the enemy's situation. Sure enough, they made a major discovery. The enemy was preparing to launch suffocating poison gas bombs. The situation was extremely urgent. They had to rush back to report immediately. An enemy soldier was hiding in the dark, aiming a gun at them. Fortunately, Stubby reacted in time. He rushed forward without hesitation and pushed Robert down. Although not hit, the sound of gunfire scared away the warhorses. The situation was extremely critical. Robert immediately took out a gas mask, telling Stubby to go back and notify the teammates. He rushed into the trench quickly. At the same time, the enemy had already started launching poison gas bombs. Suddenly, a loud explosion. Green smoke covered the entire sky. Fortunately, Stubby arrived in time. He jumped up in a hurry, biting the soldier's gas mask tightly, telling him that there was poison gas in the air. The soldier immediately took protective measures, then sent out an alarm signal. Immediately after, Stubby went to the rear camp. He took out gas masks from the bag, telling the soldiers to put them on quickly. Everyone successfully avoided the crisis, but the disaster was not over. Driven by the wind, the poison gas was spreading towards the village. Stubby hurried to notify the villagers. He barked loudly at the sky. Seeing the green smoke drifting in the sky, the villagers quickly put on gas masks, then closed the doors and windows tightly. After everyone was safe, Robert arrived in time to save Stubby, taking him to hide in a warehouse. But Stubby did not have a gas mask. The soldier hurriedly wet a towel, then stuck it on Stubby's face. At this time, the village had been engulfed by poison gas. Fortunately, with Stubby's help, everyone avoided the crisis. After the poison gas dissipated, the village returned to peace. People came outside one after another, sincerely thanking Stubby.
Stubby, you are our hero, Stubby.
After this act of self-sacrifice, Stubby became a hero in the town. But before he could celebrate, sudden bad news came from the camp because the enemy's firepower was too fierce to cover the retreat of his comrades. The regiment commander was deeply trapped in the enemy's encirclement. What's worse, it was impossible to distinguish the direction at all, making the rescue very difficult. After hearing this, Stubby did not hesitate. He rushed into the battlefield with all his strength, shuttling back and forth in the hail of bullets, looking for the regiment commander regardless of life and death. Before long, Stubby found the regiment commander in a shell crater. At this time, he was seriously injured. Stubby immediately called for help. After confirming the position, the instructor immediately ordered to launch smoke bombs. Under the cover of thick smoke, they finally rescued the trapped regiment commander. However, at this moment, a grenade flew into the trench, falling beside a soldier. Stubby quickly picked up the grenade. There was a loud explosion. When Robert found Stubby, he was on the verge of death. Robert's heart was like a knife twist, hurriedly carrying Stubby to find the medic. Seeing that it was a dog, the medic impatiently refused to save it, because there were countless injured soldiers. Seeing this, his comrades had to tell the medic about Stubby's heroic deeds. The medic reluctantly agreed to let him get in the car. Since Stubby left, Robert was distracted every day, always thinking about Stubby. He even had hallucinations. He didn't know how Stubby was now. Maybe it was the blessing of the gods. Stubby survived miraculously. He also missed Robert very much. Before his wounds were fully healed, Stubby decided to find Robert alone. He dragged his heavy injured leg and limped forward. Unexpectedly, he broke into the enemy's territory, but Stubby was not flustered at all. He threw a grill to attract the enemy's attention, then took the opportunity to escape, also stealing 2 hot dogs by the way. But before he could go far, suddenly, his wound deteriorated sharply. Stubby couldn't hold on and fell down. At this time, Robert's situation was even worse. He was not only seriously injured, but also contracted the flu. To see Robert, Stubby struggled to stand up. With unprecedented perseverance, he came to the previous battlefield. Just as Robert was about to give up, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of the bed. Robert was overjoyed. With Stubby's company, Robert finally had the hope to live. His health gradually recovered. After half a year of fierce fighting, they finally received good news. The enemy took the initiative to surrender. They set foot on the journey home with victory and joy. The pier was crowded with people welcoming them. Cheers continued endlessly, especially Stubby. He was deeply admired by thousands of people. A well-known savior hero, Stubby participated in a total of 28 battles. He was almost killed in action 5 times. The number of wounded he saved at the risk of his life was countless. The medals he won covered his whole body. He was awarded the rank of sergeant by the army commander as an exception. Not only became the dog with the highest honors in the world, but also a brave soldier.